What was 2022? What was 2022? It felt like as soon as the year started, it was completely out of my hands. Lessons upon lessons upon lessons of deprogramming and rewriting internal narratives and letting go, focusing on the now moment, being curious, seeing what happens and seeing what the universe brings you, and just trusting, self-trust, self-compassion, treating myself and allowing myself to be the beautiful, creative, soulful human being that I know that I am, with everything stripped away, allowing myself to be and allowing that being to be witnessed. 2023 has started and I don't feel like doing anything. Not one thing. Okay, today we're gonna be doing a little extemporaneous talk on the new year, 2023. What's been going on, what hasn't been going on, and everything in between. I first saw this video format from a creator called Ryan Finn, and she does extemporaneous talks on fashion. And I was like, a video where I don't have to plan anything and I can just talk from the top of my head? That's my jam. So today we're going to be talking about 2023 because I feel like there's been this like weird energy around 2023, and not weird necessarily, because I feel like it definitely has a universal collective purpose of slowing down. I definitely think that it has something to do with the Mercury retrograde that's going on right now. The current Mercury retrograde has been kicking my butt. Oh my god. First it was emotionally, and then just physically. Like the amount of times that I have almost died. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but I have been hurt multiple times during this Mercury retrograde. And you know, there's the stereotype around Mercury retrograde that stuff's gonna go wrong with your technology, your communication. Absolutely, especially when it comes to Wi-Fi. Something's been up with the Bluetooth in my car. I can't wait for it to go direct. In combination with Mercury retrograde and the fact that we're still in the winter season, the beginning of this year has just felt off. I feel like more people are starting to stop adhering to this narrative that we've been fed in the West. Anyone who follows the Gregorian calendar, that this is the time when we're supposed to be like rebirthing, creating new things, you know, starting over, resetting, when in actuality we're still in the dead of winter, a season that's known for rethinking, hibernating, rejuvenating, all the re's. We're supposed to be providing extra care and attention to our bodies. We're supposed to be slowing down. And this is so funny that I'm saying this because anyone who knows me knows that New Year's is my favorite holiday, or it's at least in like my top 3. But this year it's just felt different, and it's kind of double-sided too, because it's not necessarily that I don't want to do anything. I've had this like planning bug inside of me, so I've wanted to plan a lot of things. I've wanted to like do things, but not necessarily in an external way. I've done reflection in my journal. I downloaded this little PDF booklet. It's called the New Year Compass. And basically you just answer a bunch of questions about the past year and a bunch of questions about your intentions for the new year, so that you can put yourself in the mindset of the new year by releasing whatever happened in the previous year. And when I finished all of that, I'm like, okay, like I know what I want to do. I know where I'm going. I know what the ideas are for this year. In my brain, I know I'm going to get to it eventually, and I don't really have a problem with that. And I feel like my astrologists that I watch have really been feeding into this, because I watch Radiant Reality pretty consistently, and a message that I've been getting a lot for Libra, Life Path 7, blah 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 blah, is that stuff isn't really going to be kicking off for me until March. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And I don't even know why. I have this intuition that like if the things that I was planning for 2023 kicked off right now, it wouldn't last for very long, because I just wouldn't want to do it. I don't feel the need to develop into this completely new person. I don't even really like to subscribe to that kind of language of new year, new me. I'm like, no, new year, same me. But you know, we're going to be exploring, we're going to be expanding, we're going to be evolving, we're going to be growing. But becoming a new person? No, I don't need to be a new person, because I like who I am, and I will never have a problem with who I am in the present moment, because when you have a problem with who you are in the present moment, that's what leads to overall dissatisfaction with life. That's what I've been thinking about 2023 so far. There are a couple of things that I've done to kind of like, you know, let the new year ring itself in. For example, I've been doing a lot of cleaning, because I do that every year, and I like to clean anyway, but with the new year I like to put some intentionality behind it. And it may seem like that kind of contradicts what I was just saying before, but not really. I feel like the way that my mindset about New Year's in our culture has developed is that I don't mind celebrating the new year, but I also want to acknowledge that whatever goals I have in mind, whatever I want to accomplish, does not necessarily have to begin on January 1st. It's winter. It's winter. I feel like that's what I keep saying in my brain. It's winter. It's winter. Go to sleep. Anyway, something that I like to do in the new year is clean. I wash my clothes, I wash my sheets, my comforter, clean up my room. I did a little decluttering in 2022 as well, so it wasn't as difficult. Gave away a lot of clothes. Probably going to be selling some clothes on Depop. And here's the kicker. I gave away majority of my books. I had all of these books I had curated from recommendations on TikTok. All of these books I had seen in the bookstore that I like read the back and I was like, oh, this might be interesting. And I just like pick it up on impulse. Every time I buy a new book, I feel guilty. Even if it's a book I really want to read, I feel like I don't even want to read it anymore because I look at the stack of the books in the corner of my room and I'm like, oh my god, they must be so jealous. But no, for real, I'm literally feeling guilty because I'm like, oh my god, I've bought all of these books. People have bought books for me and I haven't even read them one bit. Not planning to read them because I got into the first few pages and I didn't even like them. I went through all my books, picked the ones that I was genuinely planning to read, figured out which ones I'm just not gonna read, even the ones that were super pretty. If I wasn't going to read it, then I'm giving it away. I have a bookstore near my house where I can get credit for the books that I give to them or the books that I donate. But I was also thinking about just giving them to Goodwill because the books in Goodwill are always severely lacking. And I'm like, let me help y'all out because this is an excellent collection. My dog is snoring so loud. Ooh, something interesting that I did this year though that I've never done before is that I made some rosemary water to cleanse the house with. I had a rosemary plant over the summer that, you know, died over the winter, but I had harvested a lot of rosemary from it that was just sitting in this little box in my closet. And I was like, what am I going to do with this rosemary? So what I decided to do was put some rosemary in a crock pot with some water and let that simmer for like 2 days, and we, you know, used it to cleanse the walls, clean off our surfaces. And I don't know if I mentioned this already, but rosemary has very cleansing, purifying properties. And then the last thing that I've done to like kind of ring in the new year, I'm adopting like a completely new philosophy when it comes to habit building and accomplishing goals, just pretty much getting things done. In previous years, like I'm not that old, I'm 19, but even so, as I've grown up, I've been addicted. Like I love self-help. They say all the right things. It's always so inspirational. I just love seeing people's perspectives on the different ways that we can develop. I've kind of dialed back on the self-help as of recently though, because it's starting to just really have this unsaid connection to capitalism that I'm not loving. The point is, when I was younger, I was very into self-help. I was very big on building habits. I can definitely attribute it to the fact that I've struggled with mental health for a very long time. Something that helps me not go into depressive episodes is maintaining routines. But I've just never been the best at maintaining routines. Like I just get bored and I'm like, yeah, we need to create some chaos. So I just like stop doing the routine. So I've always been big on building like morning routines, night routines. There have been periods when I've done great. There have been periods when I've done horrible. But something that's just so funny to me that I think about now is the fact that every year, every new year, I was so convinced. I was like, I'm about to be a new person. Y'all are not going to recognize me come January 1st. Don't even say my name. My name is Jessica now. My name isn't Sky. I don't know who that is. And it's like all of these habits that I was trying to build, it had nothing to do with who I was as a person. I will admit that sometimes it kind of aligned with what I was doing. Like, for example, I was running almost every day at one point because I was prepping for cheer tryouts. But then when I would think about like waking up at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., why, babe? You wake up with the sun every day. That's literally one of the only things that gives you serotonin. Sometimes I just wish I would have slept. My back is starting to hurt, so we're gonna have to wrap this up. But basically what I'm getting at here is that in the new year, we are not worried about stern habit building. You will never see me on this channel with my 6 a.m. morning routine video. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the 6 a.m. morning routine. If that works for you, one of the things that brings me the most joy in life is waking up to the sun coming through my window. So for me to have a 6 a.m. morning routine when for my classes this semester, I don't have a class that starts earlier than 9. Like, come on, why am I sacrificing my sleep? I was listening to this podcast the other day from Balanced Black Girl, which I listen to religiously. She was talking about habit building, and it's what got me to thinking about it, but I was kind of already thinking about it a little bit before. I was basically thinking about like new ways that I could build habits, and I had already listened to about half of the audiobook of Atomic Habits, which honestly was just way too long. You fall to the level of your systems, yada yada yada. That's literally the gist of the entire. Every time I hear someone talk about Atomic Habits, they use that one sentence. That's all you need. Don't read the book. You fall to the level of your systems. Period. Book over. I was listening to her podcast and she was saying a couple of things. You know, I was taking notes in my little journal because that's something that I did do this year. I went to the store and I got myself a little new journal. It wasn't the journal that I wanted originally. When I went to the bookstore, they ended up being sold out of the journal that I wanted. So I got a different one and it's actually so pretty. I did the whole cleansing thing. I wrote a little affirmation on the front page that I heard from 𝘸𝘩𝘕. I believe that's her name. She's on YouTube. But she said something that literally I was driving in my car and I was like, oh my God. I literally started laughing at myself. I was like, yeah, I need to hear that one today. It was the affirmation that said, I am supported for being myself. And she was talking about like financially supported. That's like the vibe for this year. So I wrote that on my journal and I started taking notes on the Balanced Black Girl episode about habits. She pretty much outlined it in these 3 different steps, which was, who are you actually? Like, what do you actually want your life to look like? What do you want your mornings to look like? What do you need in your mornings, in your nights, in your days? What do you need in your job or your finance? Like, what do you need? It's like I was saying before, I did not need to be waking up at 6 a.m. when I had school at 7 in the morning, when I was in classes for 8 hours a day with homework at the end of the night. I should have been sleeping. So the first question is, who are you? Without capitalist conditioning. She was pointing to who are you, but for me, I needed to tag on that without capitalist conditioning because I feel like that has so much to do with why I try to create the certain habits that I try to create, which we really need to deconstruct this year, that we will be deconstructing this year. The next step is shifting your mindset from I'm doing this habit because I have to, I'm doing this habit because I lack discipline, to I'm doing this habit because it aligns me with who I truly am. And then that moves me into the third step, which is affirming what those habits are. So the example that she gave was, you wake up one day, you're supposed to go to the gym every day, makes your body feel good. One day she was going to hit snooze on, you know, her alarm to go to the gym. And she affirmed the fact that I am not someone who snoozes on my commitments. And then she hopped right up. I'm not saying these are like the magic words, but it's like you redirect your thought pattern of, I don't want to do this, to, yes, I actually do want to do this. So I'm going to be applying that system, that idea, that theory to my habit building for the year and just really doing some reflection on what my habits need to be. Because something that I've just realized over the years is that my mental health is so much better when I have a routine, but I've been very cloudy about what that routine now needs to be. I need to stop allowing other people on YouTube and their 6 a.m. morning routines to influence me. Something else, and this is the last thing for this video, is that when it comes to my habit building and when it comes to pretty much everything for this year, whether it be goals, whether it be habits, my existence, the way that I exist, it's just not going to be rushed. The word for 2023 is slow and steady integration. When I think about integration, I think about a slow and steady process. I don't think about things changing overnight and then fizzling out within a week. I want to be intentional about this year. And when I say intentional, I don't mean doing everything perfect to a T. I want this year to be a learning experience. I just made myself nervous by saying that because I have an issue with making mistakes. I have an issue with perfectionism, but that's literally why one of my biggest goals for the year is to get back into reading, because it's like a slow and intentional process of looking into other people's worlds, developing empathy for different situations, getting creative inspiration from other writers. That's just like one example of integration for me. And I'm not going to be like one of those people like, I want to read 100 books in 1 year. No. My goal is 24. 1 book every 2 weeks. And if I fall off, I fall off. That's just my brain this year. It's just so not whatever, because I care, but it's just so much more fluid. I want to honor the process. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I hope you guys enjoy this extemporaneous, I keep having to spell it out in my brain. I hope you guys enjoy this extemporaneous chit chat about 2023. I would just love it, adore it, if you all would comment down below your thoughts about 2023. If you're feeling the same way, if you're feeling completely different, either way, I just want to hear. I will see you guys next week, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Bye. Okay.